Josh, if mechanical engineering were a wintry drink, you'd be a scalding hot pot of cocoa.
Oh yeah, the syrupy thick kind with marshmallows. Welcome to Engineer Assist Designer,
The podcast.
dealing design for engineers, designers, makers, geeks, freaks, and those who tear apart their kids' toys to see the mold, tool, ejector marks. My name is Josh, mechanical engineer of SolidSmack.com.
And my name is Adam, industrial designer of CADJunkie.com.
Each week's show is broken into 3 smoking hot halves. This week we take to the slopes and shred the extreme. First we'll hit the coolest stories in 3D CAD news and product design courtesy of SolidSmack.com.
Followed by tips, tricks, and Q&A compliments of CADJunkie.com.
And this week we have the man keeping you flying high in the half pipe and shredding wintry rails, the one, the only Ray Kavarsky, design engineer of Burton Snowboards.
Ray, if you could convert snow into any kind of sugary breakfast cereal and crash land into it, which one would that be?
I'm going to have to go with Frosted Flakes on that one, Adam.
Ooh.
Now that would be painless.
And delicious.
Ray, we're going to be hearing more from you as the show goes on. Josh Mings of SolidSmack.com, warm our hands by the lodge fire of knowledge. What have you got for us this week?
This week's SolidSmack update is brought to you by Develop 3D, the website and magazine covering the entire product design lifecycle and making it look awesome at the same time. From CAD industry news and hardware reviews to sustainability to reverse engineering, Develop 3D is jabbing sweet gumdrops of design in your eye. Get the free iPad app and subscribe now at develop3d.com. Since we're talking with Ray Kavarsky this week, the EvD crew is strapping on our snowboards. But first, 2 quick EvD updates for you this week.
First, we have officially offered EvD t-shirts for a few weeks now, but because they were custom made to order, the prices were prohibitive.
Well, we fixed all that, and now you can rock your punch your ears in the face t-shirt for a mere 1,300 yen.
That's about 17 of your American dollars.
Nice. Buy one. Also, crack open the champagne.
That's right, EvD is now listed as new and notable in the technology category on iTunes.
Now Adam can stop crying himself to sleep at night.
So excited!
And how do you stay safe on your board while sneaking into the park after hours? OLEDs, baby! Yes, the Samsung Design Membership Team is an IDEA 2011 finalist for their Raise Up Your Safety snowboard design. The board is equipped with a red OLED display on the bottom of the board that alerts others to ski around you if you've taken a tumble and are laying incapacitated in the snow. Now, this could also allow friends, paramedics, or wild animals to find and devour you, so thumbs up on the design, guys.
And if you want to get a glimpse at the unlimited possibility of flying over vast mountainous landscapes, you've got to check out Travis Rice's Art of Flying.
Insane.
It premiered just last week to a sold-out show, and this movie literally takes you where no one has gone before, and you're going to see stuff that is going to blow your brains out on the desk in front of you. Search Art of Flight to catch the spectacular trailer and see how the designs we're going to be talking about today with Ray Kavarsky stand up to, complete insanity.
Travis has taken, big mountain freeriding to a whole new level. It's unbelievable.
Really, really unbelievable stuff, and it's got to be testing the equipment, pushing that equipment to the edge. And I mean, does that ever make you nervous watching him fly around on stuff that you designed?
Actually, it kind of does, honestly. Watching those movies every once in a while, we walk out of there and I'm like, oh my God, like, we need to go back into the lab and test this stuff again. And we do a lot of lab testing and on snow, and we're really confident with the designs, but when you see somebody hucking 80, 100 feet, it kind of makes you wonder, like, I know every little, wall thickness and, hardware diameter of all the parts and stuff. And, sometimes it does make you second guess yourself.
Do you ever watch something and you're like, this part in particular is experiencing a lot of strain on what he's doing. We should double check that part.
Yeah, actually, we've had a couple of years ago, we had a photo that I took of a friend doing a jump up in Alaska, and you can see the base plate flexing like really far off the board, and it's just kind of shocking when you see that sometimes, and you realize how these engineering plastics are, and they are so unbelievably tough. And sometimes I'm just amazed about how much stress and strain they can take. But yeah, every once in a while you see something in the photo, you can see a part really deflected really far, and it kind of makes you go back and wonder, like, wow, is it really going to hold up? But they are tough. They're tougher than you think sometimes.
Well, so you guys do a mixture of types of analysis to make sure that these things are going to be safe for people to ride. I know you do some software analysis, but you also do rapid prototype printing, and then, what's your process like there?
I mean, I mainly work in the binding side of things, so we have an SLS RP machine that runs weekly, and we can run a base plate through it and grow a part overnight and ride it on snow the next day.
It's incredible.
And it's like, yeah, it is pretty amazing. It's 90-95% the strength of an injected raw nylon part. A little bit
Wow.
different flex properties, but
Right.
we will put that through the lab, and we do a bunch of physical lab testing with it, and then get it on snow and ride it. And we'll stick team riders on them and send them off jumps with them. And once we feel that once they've passed lab testing, of course.
And do you ever do any FEA analysis or any of that kind of stuff on digitally as well, or mostly just prototyping?
We've dabbled in FEA a little bit. One of our testing engineers uses it for fixtures and whatnot, but with the dynamic, like high elongation properties of plastics, we haven't really got into that too much. We just recently had a nice demo from an FEA vendor.
Well, when your turnaround time for a part is 24 hours, I mean, that you can't beat that. That's amazing.
Yeah, you can't beat that. So sometimes it's just, we'll just build it and ride it and try it is faster, and it gives you, a more definitive answer than setting up a whole analysis and whatnot.
Josh Mings of SolidSmack.com, what is that clear, shiny thing hanging down from your nose?
So cold.
You better go take care of that, buddy. We'll be right back.
Adam O'Hearn of CADJunkie.com. I hear the power of your knowledge is about to dump buckets. What have you got for us to write on this week?
This week's CAD Junkie Q&A is brought to you by Develop 3D, spreading the knowledge with the latest product design news and software reviews. Develop 3D covers all the engineering and design sweetness you need to stay up to speed. Check it out at develop3d.com.
Technology for the product lifecycle.
And as a lot of you know, over at CAD Junkie, we believe firmly that no single CAD tool is a one-stop shop for all things design. We mix and match a variety of tools, whatever gets the job done. In our daily grind, we tend to use a lot of Moto and SolidWorks, but we've been known to sprinkle in some other stuff here and there. But Ray Kavarsky, you are a CAD madman, mixing in all kinds of stuff. You're like my CAD soulmate. So just to get started, I hear you started out using Pro E, or earlier on in your career anyway, and these days you're using more SolidWorks. What drove that decision, and how's it going?
Well, I mean, it's going well. I suppose what drove the decision was my employment. My current employer, Burton, uses SolidWorks as their primary CAD tool. They actually were on Pro E before I started there.
Well, so tell me, before you tell us how it's going, when you first started and they first told you, well, yeah, you can have the job, but you're going to have to learn SolidWorks, how did you feel about that? Was it like, yes, a new CAD package, or was it like, man, I don't want to learn a new CAD package?
I was okay with it. I had actually used SolidWorks, kind of briefly a little bit before then, and I was familiar with the program.
Oh, okay.
One thing I knew about it is that it was a lot easier than Pro E at the time. This was kind of pre-Wildfire, so it was much less frustrating, and it definitely was an easier package to use. I was a little bit bummed that I wasn't going to get to use ISDX, which was Pro E's advanced surfacing module,
Right.
and I kind of figured, well, if they're not using ISDX, they must be using Alias, but come to find out, it was just SolidWorks.
Well, I mean, so tell me this. It sounds like, back in the day, I think SolidWorks was it was pretty easy to argue that SolidWorks was a lot easier to use than Pro E, but with Wildfire, things changed a little bit. Now they got this whole Creo thing going. How do you feel about that now? Would you question the decision now? Do you feel like your opinions might be changed based on the newer products?
Mine would, yeah. I mean, for me, when you're using a product full-time, every day, 40, 50, 60 hours a week, you don't necessarily need it to be super easy to use because you're just going to learn it. So I kind of tend towards, just give me as much power as possible. Right. As many tools and as many options as you can stick in the thing. And, you never know when you need some weird funky tool to flatten a non-developable surface or something like
Right.
that. So I prefer to have a much more powerful package. I don't really care too much about the interface as long as it's got good shortcuts and
Yeah.
hotkeys and stuff like that.
Well, I think there's balance to be had there. I care deeply about the interface, but I also care deeply about functionality, and I feel like a lot of people feel like it's a give and take, and you either get one or the other, and I just don't buy that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, it'd be great to have all of it together in one package.
Really? I mean, would you like it if one package did everything you needed, or do you? I mean, one of the things I think is kind of nice about multi-package solutions is that it kind of forces the software designers to think on their toes and to always be competing and trying the next thing.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't necessarily saying all together in one package functionality. I just meant, having the functionality and a good clean interface and a nice, simple, easy to use solution. What Proe's doing with, Creo now, PTC's doing with Creo is, I haven't used it honestly at all, but it seems kind of interesting having these small apps, and I like the fact that there's just one file format. And that's kind of cool. If you can have one file format and use it across different packages, it just makes things easier. I use step files all the time, and that's kind of my neutral format right now.
Well, one of the things we asked last week actually was we were talking to Evan Brainerd in the film design industry about polygonal modeling and why that's not more mainstream in manufacturing and building things. And he had a really great point, and that's that standard CAD file formats don't support mesh data. And so it would be really amazing if the step file format did support mesh data. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I actually heard that in your podcast last week, and I thought that was a great idea. Like, if you can have, Met or OBJ mesh in a step file, I mean, that would be awesome. And at the same time, I would rather have subdivision surface data in there with edge creasing. Edge creasing to me is kind of the key to using, polygonal modeling for product design.
Dude, that's amazing. You're an inspiration to CAD ninjas everywhere. You are all over the place, my friend.
Yeah, I guess that happens. I spend a lot of time reading help files and just working through this stuff. I don't know why.
I'm telling you what, man. The first thing I always tell my students when I start a new class is that how do you think I know this stuff? I read the directions.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God.
That's
So,
like
it's
the
amazing.
dirty little secret, right? Read the help files. Read them more than once.
Okay, so since we're on that topic, one of your first comments on CAD Junkie way back in the day was about using Maya to convert poly meshes to NURBS as an alternative to TS Elements for SolidWorks. And you remember we have T-splines for Rhino where you can kind of do some rudimentary sub-D modeling, but then that data becomes actual NURB surface data in Rhino, or there's TS Elements for SolidWorks where you generally would do your modeling in another package like Maya, Moto, 3ds Max, Lightwave, whatever, and then use TS Elements to convert that to a SolidWorks NURBS object that then you can add features to. And you were saying you could do similar things with Maya. Could you tell us anything about that?
Sure. Yeah, I started using Maya for concept modeling a few years ago. And just really liked how it was super free flowing, and really fast to just do like topology exploration and things like that. And discovered that you can convert subdivision surfaces in Maya directly to NURB surfaces in Maya. Kind of like what you would do, I suppose, kind of how TS Elements works, but it's pretty surprising. I actually talked to an Autodesk tech one time who was on worked with Maya development, and he wasn't sure. He didn't realize that you can convert sub-D surfaces in Maya to NURBS and have multi-span surfaces as a result. There's two different ways you can do it. You can either get your just single-span Bezier surfaces or multi-span surfaces, and it's actually a pretty cool conversion. And one of the things I really like about it, I guess versus TS Elements, is that it has full support for edge creasing. So if I go in and do a polygon cage of like a base plate, and then I've got a couple little scripts worked out to do some edge selection and things like that, and I can crease all the edges.
That is huge.
And convert them to, which is enormous. And Maya's edge creasing works a little different. There's like 13 levels of creasing. I never go past 2. And I kind of know, based on the scale of my geometry, if I crease an edge twice, it's about a 1.5 millimeter radius of a round or a fillet.
Wow.
So yeah, and it's really cool because you get these creased edge sets, and then when you convert it to NURBS right in Maya, and it's a live conversion, so you get to keep your polygon cage,
That
and
is
you
so
can take
sick.
your NURBS group and just drag it over to the right and literally watch. You can extrude faces and add polygons and change the polygon topology and watch the NURBS model update, and it will literally like add and remove surfaces.
Okay, guys, a joke for you.
Oh, man.
How many ski instructors does it take to screw in a light bulb?
Joke me, baby.
When to screw it in and 10 to analyze the turning.
Oh, my God.
The turning
Are you serious? Engineering jokes.
are awesome.
Shoot me in the face now.
All right. As you know, today we sat down with Ray Kavarsky, snowboard design engineer.
We brought him on because, well, talking to him is like watching a Warren Miller action flick on repeat.
Oh, yeah. So, Evan, we've got a few questions for you.
And the chili we just ate at the lodge is making me feel a little bit funny right now.
Oh, me too. Good night.
Are you sure that was chili and not a kidney stone?
That was painful. Okay, Ray, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got where you are today.
I got where I am today. I suppose for the CAD realm of things, I was fortunate enough to start my CAD modeling career back in high school in the late '80s, and took a 2D drafting class before we even had computers in the school. And over that, between freshman and sophomore year, we acquired a couple of computers with a program called CAD Key, way back when, DOS. And kind of got hooked on it there.
Mine was Vectorworks way back in the day. Josh, what was your
My
first?
first CAD program ever, AutoCAD.
AutoCAD.
Yep,
AutoCAD. All right.
standard.
Sorry. Anyway,
Yeah,
just thought we'd
no,
get
that's
that
cool.
out there in the public.
Yeah, it was, it's kind of this interesting introduction to it, and really small class, and the teacher was learning CAD as we were. He was going to seminars and stuff and learning it, and it was all 2D, straight DOS lines and whatnot, and I just kind of got hooked on it, coming from somewhat of a mechanical background. At the same time, I was, racing cars and helping my dad restore Mustangs and whatnot, so definitely somewhat of a mechanic background. And from there, I kind of took a little break and just went snowboarding for a while. Moved out to Colorado and just went snowboarding for a while, but always had eventually got my own little personal computer and got CAD Key on there. And then I guess about 10 years later, I was touring a factory up in northwest Montana and got a glimpse of Pro Engineer on a screen, and saw my first ever 3D model rotate, and I was like, yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah. All right, Ray. So I'm just telling you right now. You are an anomaly. I one of the big themes in this show is that I make fun of Josh, the engineer, because engineers are dorks supposedly, and yet you are a way cooler person than I am, and also an engineer.
Much cooler.
You're definitely making me
So
feel
much cooler.
a little bit inadequate right now.
Well,
I was like totally
it's all
geeking out
good.
about Pro Engineer, and then I went snowboarding for a few years,
Ray Kavarsky, having you on the show has been even better than that time I was stuck on a ski lift overnight with my tongue stuck to the pole with only a full bladder and a dead iPod battery to keep me company.
It's all good.
If you'd like to send free lift tickets and 3-year-old hot cocoa powder to EvD HQ, please address those to Adam.
He loves that stuff. He does.
I do. I also love comments, and Engineer vs. Designer loves comments too. Give us some feedback at evd1.tv. Insults welcome.
And if you desperately wish to see us on the bunny slopes with the little skis, be sure to like us, +1 us, follow us, or whatever, as social media has also been correlated with mockery and frozen tears on our cheeks.
Special thanks to Bill Fiorito for the music in the background.
And we'll see you next week. And remember, without engineers, designers would be stuck in the lodge with nothing to ride.
And without designers, engineers would be riding planks. not boards.
Thank you. Thank you.